Yeah, I put up a background here for you guys. Have my jersey, my hat. Gonna crack open a drink real quick,
Oh God.
God.
and then we'll get going.
Oh my God,
Oh
man.
God.
Look at that koozie, bro.
I know, right?
Jesus. Hopefully you didn't pay for that.
It's delicious.
No.
So yeah, I think we can just jump right into it. We'll get into the Nuggets and Avalanche here shortly, but let's jump into the Super Bowl. So I was just going back, listening to our podcast from a few months ago. We were talking about, the Chiefs and the Broncos and what we think they were going to do this year, and just kind of returning back to, we were talking about how Tyreek's gone and is that going to affect the team, and that was it, man. There was a lot of, and just online and this in media, everybody was hating on the Chiefs, saying that they weren't Bart Scott saying they weren't even going to make the playoffs. He's crazy. But and then obviously a lot of other commentators saying, the Chargers are going to win the division. And then the Chiefs are going to, it's going to be the Bills or it's going to be the Bengals going to the Super Bowl and all that. So it's crazy that we're here and that it worked out the way it did.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, I would say. Like, I don't know if crazy is the word. I would say unfortunate. But
Very unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, but you gotta win the games, right? So it was tough. The Chiefs had a really hard road their whole season, right? Like we talked about it. They had historically one of the hardest schedules like ever, and they made it through. And yeah, so it wasn't easy, and they had some hard fought games, and they made it through it. What did you guys think of the Super Bowl?
Well, thank goodness I was in Vegas and belligerently drunk.
Oh God.
It was definitely a good game. I could say that. That's one of the only good things I could say about it. It was a good game. Riri, best looking Prego I've ever seen in my life. I don't know. I was pretty hyped about her regardless. So, there was a little bit of clap back on her. I don't know why. I thought it was pretty good. I did like the one. There was a GIF, I think it was, or a meme, and it was when she was wearing that red get up or whatever, and somebody was like, my dumbass thought that was Andy Reid on stage up there because it showed her really blown up, kind of like Missy Elliott or whatever. But that made me laugh pretty good. Little Andy Reid dig there, but no, good Super Bowl overall. Not a good outcome, but good Super Bowl. Definitely back and forth, and it was entertaining, and it definitely went down to the wire, like I said it was going to, like we all said it was going to. So
You did. You called it. You said it was gonna. What's funny is I watched it, and you actually said it's gonna come down to the last 5 minutes, and it did. Like the Chiefs had 5 minutes to go, and that's what it came down to. That's crazy that you called it like that.
Yeah, it was unfortunate that it went that way, but your boys pulled it off, man. There's not much I can say. I'll sit here and still definitely talk crap anytime I can about them, but your boys did pull it off. So there you go, Bob.
Sacker?
What about you, Sacker? What'd you think?
Right, yeah, it was a fun game to watch. The ending sucked. The Super Bowl performance, but the Rihanna's performance, I thought it was fine. I don't know. I think a lot of people expect way too much from these Super Bowl halftime shows, to be quite honest. I saw a lot of clapback on it. It's just like, come on now. They're doing it for free. They're doing it for free. They're not getting paid for it. They're just doing it just to do it. So my expectations are never all that high. I thought it was fine. I think a lot of people expected way too much for a Super Bowl performance, but that's another conversation.
And she's pregnant. What do you expect?
Yes, right, exactly, right.
Break dance.
She's
Jesus
still
Christ,
looking hot
yeah,
for that.
like,
But
oh,
also you got to
God.
think too that you're going head to head versus like I said, the Eminem, Dr. Dre, 50 Cent, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick, that Super Bowl show versus this one. So I don't know. You had to basically go up against that from last year, which was kind of tough as it is. But I thought, as you said, Sacker, I thought she did well. I'm good
That was
with it.
fine. Yeah, exactly. She has a lot of bops for sure. Like,
Oh, for sure.
oh my gosh, yeah. Didn't even play a lot of the.
Yeah,
There was a lot that left out. Yeah.
Exactly.
But anyway, game was fun. Yeah, game was a good game. Congrats to your Chiefs. I'll leave it at that. So
Dang, you even got a congrats out. You did better
I
than me.
appreciate that. Yeah, I didn't
Goodness
think I'd
sakes, man.
hear anything like that. You know what's great?
I'll
though?
throw up after this for saying that, just so y'all know.
Thank you. I
I
appreciate
actually-
that. Wash your mouth out.
Hey, I actually had a couple of friends, say the same thing that are big Bronco fans. One was my old boss, that he's super huge Bronco fan, and then another was a guy I went to high school with. Same thing. Like he's actually been to he went to both, I think, Super Bowls for the Broncos. And yeah, it was crazy. He's like a super fan, and he's like he bet on the Chiefs, and I guess he won he almost won like $6,000 or something crazy. But
Oh,
but they were like, yeah, man, like congrats and all that. And but yeah, I mean, it was a a lot of people say there was controversy and stuff, and as far as the penalties and all that. So I came up with a top 10 list why the Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
oh God.
Number one, and I'll go through it quickly.
Please go through it
Please
quickly,
do.
because this
Please
is
do. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Number one, they won the second half, right? If you're going to win a half of football, you're going to want to win the second half. They did not win the first half. The number two, the Chiefs O-line allowed 0 sacks. So that was a big, big, big thing. Also,
Okay, I'll stop you right there. That was the biggest thing, in my opinion. I expected the Eagles defense to be a lot better, and they weren't. And
Yeah.
credit to the old line for that.
Yep. And
Yeah, I agree with you completely. The defense was lackluster. Mahomes a hurt Mahomes got to go out there and win the second half.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you couldn't put a pressure on enough on that
Yeah.
gimpy ankle to do something that's just all in your own fault. Then at that point, that's when you should have put the defensive coordinator should put the blitz on. They should have been bringing the heat on Mahomes nonstop. But it is what it is. Your boy pulled it off.
And I mean, the Chiefs defense wasn't as better, but they did make plays when they had to.
Yeah.
So
and
the Eagles made none. The Eagles defense made no plays really.
Right.
So
and that leads into the same thing with the Chiefs O-line on number 2 is that they also outrushed the Eagles. The rushing attack was more. The Chiefs outrushed the Eagles. The Eagles didn't run the ball very well. Obviously Jalen Hurts did, but the rest of the team did not, which is one of their biggest strengths. They won the turnover battle. Number 3, Nick Bolton turn for a touchdown. They should have had 2, to be fair. So you catch the ball.
No, you have to make a move. You have to make a football move, and he never made a football move. I will debate this.
So a football move, when you turn your shoulders up.
Nope. That's not a football move.
It is actually.
No, it's not.
Okay, we can argue.
No, it's not. It is not a football move. I will argue that to the. That's.
From an unbiased opinion, guys, and I'm unbiased. I'm gonna go with the Broncos fan on this one.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? So
it was turning your shoulders, not a football move. If he would have taken a step, that's a football move.
He took 2 steps, and
no,
then
he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't. No, he did not. No, he didn't. He turned and then he got hit. That's what happened. No,
I watched the game over.
I watched the game too.
So he took 2 steps.
Okay. We're not gonna. Okay.
But regardless,
I'm not gonna argue with something that didn't happen. But
regardless, do you? So even if he doesn't get hit, does he still catch the ball? Absolutely. He caught the ball.
He still catches it. It
wasn't
the rule said you have to make a football move, and he didn't make a football move.
That's not.
I thought it was off. That was pretty obvious to me.
The argument was well, the argument was it just wasn't enough time. That's what the argument was, which is
exactly.
It's like,
but that's the way the rule is stated.
But
so it's just
okay.
It is what it is. I'm not the. I mean, it's the rule. The rule is the rule at the end of the day, and by definition,
sure,
that's not a catch.
Okay.
Yeah, but you already won the Super Bowl.
That's the end of the day.
That one right there.
So,
number 4, Rihanna wore red. So.
Oh my God! Jeez,
Jesus.
Let's see exactly. They confused her for Andy Reid for a second. It was it was definitely jinxed from that point on.
Number 5, the Chiefs scored on every possession in the second half. But Mahomes only threw one incompletion in the second half, and that was a throwaway. So if the Eagles, like you said, if the Eagles once on defense in the second half, they probably win. And with that, they out-schemed the Eagles, right? Those wide open touchdown throws, it was amazing just watching that happen. Oh, it was so
Some might call it amazing, others might call it disgusting. But yeah, go ahead.
Very disgusting. Go ahead.
Sure. Number 7, we stopped the Eagles from scoring touchdowns on multiple drives, including in the fourth quarter. So that was big. Like you said, Sacker alluded to that the defense was timely. Number 8, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and Andy Reid. You put that combo together, I give them, benefit of the doubt, regardless of what's going on. Number 9, the rookies. The rookies came to play. That was the biggest thing that I was hopeful for at the beginning of the year, but obviously you never know, right? Like the Chiefs have had they're good at drafting players. They've been good at drafting players for a while now. Nick Bolton, they had him just the year before with Creed Humphrey, our center. Both of them are, phenomenal players. And then this year you get Pacheco, you get, McDuffie, Karlaftis, you get Watson, you get all the guys in the back end, right? All these rookies. That's scary. I was scared with, AJ Brown's, he's a man. That dude can play. I was worried him and Jalen Hurts were just going to tear up that, the back end of the Chiefs. And they did.
I didn't even know. I didn't even know AJ Brown was there. Honestly, he showed up. Zachary, you saw him play,
man.
He was there. He was there. The big touchdown.
Right. I can't put it on him. I can't put it on just. I'm sorry. That's good enough. I guess.
He had the big touchdown pass in the first half. He had the big.
He had that. You're right, but I expected him to have whatever else I needed for
the Eagles' offense did not lose this game.
I agree with you there. Like you said.
Yeah, it's not. Well, you can say the offense, but honestly, I would even say even condensed even more than that. I would say Jalen Hurts didn't lose. I mean, maybe he did because he fumbled.
Jalen Hurts played a better game than Patrick Mahomes.
But that's the thing. He did play an amazing game. If it weren't for that fumble, maybe they win.
Yeah.
Right. He did play in an awesome game though. But yeah, the Eagles' offense, they didn't rush the ball well. But other than that, yeah, they were pretty solid. It was the Eagles defense that just didn't come to play.
Very disappointing. Yeah.
And then number 10, I will take credit for helping the Chiefs win. And having my best friend Brett Cookson, he came over. So the last time the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, he was over. Him and Christy came over and watched it with my family. We all watched it together, and and Brett, he doesn't, he's not a big football guy.
I need to talk to Brett.
Yeah, we need to let Brett know that he's no longer allowed.
I understand that I understand he's a Jets fan and whatnot, and he doesn't care. But seriously,
but he's also a Nuggets fan, a big Nuggets fan. So I give him a little bit of,
That's a good man right there. I don't want to bring this up since you just brought this up though, but the last time I went to Vegas to watch the Super Bowl was the last time that the Chiefs won the Super Bowl too. So this is 2 times now.
Oh, really?
Oh my God, I'm disgusted.
Okay.
Yeah, I may never be able to go to Vegas during the Super Bowl again if the Chiefs are
in it, right?
I would never be able to go.
Or I'll join you, right? That'll be what we do.
Bob, how would that fix the issue right there, bud? That would be horrible. Then you would the Chiefs would win. You'd go hit a slot machine for $500,000. Everything would go wrong that trip. It would be like Chevy Chase and Vegas Vacation. That would be my deal. What would happen to me? So.
Welcome back, fellas. I had to switch up, get another koozie and another drink ready.
Oh, okay. What's your wine cooler or the koozie over there?
Oh gosh, nothing too fancy.
You're a geesh.
So let's talk about something. I wanted to get into this a little bit. the why, and I asked you guys earlier, I sent you guys a message asking you guys, why winning the Super Bowl matters, right? To you specifically. Let me go ahead and I'll tell you why it matters to me, in this particular Super Bowl. So, my uncle John, he passed away this year, and it was not it wasn't like expected, right? Like it was definitely something that we were all just shocked with, and this was we just drove down there, we went to the funeral and everything, and it was very sad because he was definitely one of those guys who's big sports fan, big with family, really funny guy. He's that uncle that that like if you bring a new girlfriend around, he'll make her feel at home, but he'll also like give her shit and stuff like that, right? Like very funny, very welcoming, that type of clown character, good guy. And it was tough, man. It was tough to lose him.
Sorry for your loss, man. That's right.
Yeah.
I know.
And yeah, I mean, you guys, I mean, I it sucks, right? Like losing family members. I know you guys have had to deal with that, in so many situations yourselves, and we all lose people, and it sucks. It really does. But this one, that's why this one kind of mattered to me, because even at the reception, at the funeral, it was it was kind of like everybody at the funeral was wearing black and everything, and then once we got to the reception, everybody's wearing their Chiefs gear and all that kind of stuff, and because he was a huge Chiefs fan, right? And they are all in Kansas City. They all and in Kansas City, not outside of the city, like downtown, all that stuff. And yeah, man, it was just good to just be around them. It sucks that he didn't get to see him win. I mean, he did get to see the Chiefs win the more recent, the recent one, But it's tough, man. That kind of stuff. It hits hard,
Sure. It does. It's sure. First of all, yeah, condolences to you and your family. And last year was the roughest year of my life, losing my dad and my aunt within 6 months, and my grandma, one of my good friends I'm talking about, and then like 5-6 people right in a row. I can't even go into it right now because it'll get me in that space. But condolences to you. I know, I can only imagine. I do know how it is. And congrats. I'll give you that. Congrats. You want the congrats? I'll give you and your uncle congrats just for that. For your boys. That's good for him. I'm sure he's up there smiling. So, yeah. Once again, sorry for your loss, man.
And that's the thing, man. Like my family, without getting into it a lot, but my family's had like a lot of like bad things in the family, like just a lot of things. It's just tragedy and just all kinds of stuff. And football, right? Sports. Football specifically has always been something that we can, always talk about. We can always go back on, and even when they don't succeed, right? Like even when there's down years, you can always, draw on specific players, be like, hey man, this guy had a hell of a season. Like, let's just hope they can pull the rest of the team together and do something better, right? And it helps. It does. It brings families together in ways that people I don't think give enough credit for, because it's just a game, right? But it's more than that. I think for me, it's more than that. It brings families together, and it's timeless, and it's just one of those things that you can always have. But yeah, man, and for me, like, it was special not only because of that, but I actually got to watch it with my family this time, because the first Super Bowl, my dad and mom were both in Mexico. And it's funny because they had planned this trip to go to Mexico for months, and then once we found out the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl, they're like, "Oh man, like, should we go to Mexico?" I was like, "Yeah, go. You guys have been planning this for months. Go have a good time. Like, watch the game there." And they did. They had a good time, and but it's one thing to watch your team win, but it's another thing to watch your team win with your family.
True. Yeah.
So
that was fairness, man.
Yeah, and so that's another thing that I thankful for. Even even in losses, like it's still good to be able to have that. Like I'll never not cherish those times with my family kind of thing. So
Yeah, man.
you guys what is like winning the Super Bowl? Like you guys have obviously had a lot of success. You've got to see your team win Super Bowls, when you were kids and also now as an adult, right? Like, what does that mean to you? Like when you guys knew, like put yourself back there, you're like, Peyton Manning, he's going to win.
Yeah.
Teams, John Elway, back to back, right? Like, what did that feel like for you guys?
I think the big thing, you got some great points, but the main point that I really like that you hit was obviously the big point was family. It just brings back memories, timeless memories that you'll never forget. It makes the games that much better because you're cheering with your day ones, you're cheering with, the people that you want to be there with, like that you wouldn't trade for the world. It's such a big stage, the biggest game, you know what I mean, of the year. Your team's going to be Super Bowl champs if they win this one game and you're there rooting with, like I said, people that there's nobody else you'd rather be there with, you know what I mean? So huge. For me, I would say just one thing would be going back to the 97, our first Super Bowl win with against the Packers, man. And I can remember watching it with, at my dad's house with my dad, my brother, and we were just worried as can be. I know I was, man. I was worried. I thought Fire was gonna pull some crap, and it looked like they were at a certain point. You know what I mean? In the third quarter, I believe it was, they started driving and started looking really solid, and even into the fourth. But won't go into so much detail, like I said, just because it's rough. Anytime I think about my dad right now, it's still too fresh, but amazing memory. And we ended up winning, and I think the big thing that I always remember from that Super Bowl is how much Elway wanted it, man, and that the helicopter dive, that's a huge thing. Everybody obviously will bring that up as one of their memories if they're an LA fan, but that was huge watching it, you know what I mean, live or whatever. Seeing his big old eyes, you know what I mean, his eyes bugged out bigger than any like cartoon character, you know what I mean. When he saw that end zone, he knew what he's putting his body on the line. He knew it was all or not. He knew he had already been there a few times and knew what it was like and got smoked. So it was huge. And we won. And my dad had a quarter stick of dynamite that he'd had for a long time. And we went out and lit it in the development, and it blew out the lights, the actual street lights for a whole block. It was one of the loudest things. It was awesome. Blew a pothole out of the neighborhood. We were in a pretty good neighborhood at that point too. So leave it to my dad. That's a memory I won't forget either. So good stuff.
That is awesome, Tyler. Just real quick, Decker, before you jump in, I just wanted to say the fireworks thing. Like my Uncle John, like that was always a big thing with my family in Kansas City. They fireworks, man. 4th of July, they spent like $1,000 or whatever on just they were just gonna blow up everything. Like
yeah, it's a big time thing, man. It's huge.
So that's
what do you got, Sacker?
Well, I'm gonna try to go through this spiel without getting emotional because
well, it feels we've all gotten there already.
Tyler, you mentioned the 97, the first Super Bowl. I always say that means so much because I just think back to that, and I'll back it up to beforehand. My parents, I mean, watching the Broncos was a family thing. Like we always host all of our family and friends and whatnot every Sunday at our house, and just kind of my late father, who loved to cook, he would cook excuse me. He would cook for everybody, and everybody would just during halftime we would go in the kitchen and eat the food and whatnot and watch the Broncos. That was basically a religion for us for so long, until he got sick, unfortunately. So, but yeah, I think that first Super Bowl, It's funny you mentioned, Tyler, you were nervous. I was probably the only one that wasn't nervous. I didn't think. I thought we had it in the bag. Everybody else in my family thought I was crazy.
Well, you got
But then again, they went. But they tell me they went through the Super Bowl defeats, specifically the one that they always tell me is about. Who told me about was the game against the Super Bowl against Washington, where the Broncos were favored in that game, and it was getting ready to be a huge celebration. And then the first Bronco drive, they had the big Elway had the big touchdown, and they're celebrating. They had their pom poms all in the house and whatnot. We brought over pom poms and we're shaking them and whatnot. And then that second quarter hit, and game all went to hell.
Sure.
And people left at halftime. My uncle, who ended up bringing the pom poms, left his, and I actually still had that pom pom the day that we won the Super Bowl 32. So that was
Nice.
interesting. Yeah. So and just that feeling of elation, just how I never heard the house. We had probably good 20 to 25 people in the house that day.
Yeah.
It was definitely a moment I would never forget. We were so excited. We actually thought about going to the airport to welcome in the team, actually.
Oh, yeah. Remember?
So,
did you go to the parade? I was at both parades.
I did not get to go to the parade because...
Oh, man, we skipped school. I was so hyped.
Yeah, I should have skipped school. The problem was, the first time they had for the first Super Bowl, it was, they closed the schools the next day.
Yeah.
But they didn't have the parade until Tuesday.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
So it's a golf, man. My friend was like,
I really should have.
Yeah, they're like, he's like, you're going to get in trouble. I was like, I don't even care, man.
I know. I really should. I should have gone. So, the following day, same thing. Same thing. They had the parade the next day, I want to say.
Yeah.
And again, in school. So, couldn't go. We watched it on TV. So,
sure.
Both times. So, at the end of the day, I probably should have won because shit wasn't getting done anyway. So, so those first two, because it was. We packed the house for the second Super Bowl against the Falcons. We went over one of my uncle's house, and he hosted the party, and pretty much, it was essentially a huge party, and I just love those moments. And every time I think about the Broncos and Sundays and whatnot, that's what I think about is just those trees. It's some great memories from those times.
Yeah. Condolences your way as well, man. I know everybody's.
Yeah. So, and then the last Super Bowl was fun because that was the first one as an adult. So,
sure.
So,
what's the recovery from the murder? The Seattle murder, because that was
that too. Yeah.
That's one thing Bob doesn't understand is we may have had before you guys won that one, we may have had a better 20 years whatever. But we went through some bad.
There's some heartbreak.
We went through some embarrassments. We're talking about the 49ers spanked us beyond all spanking in the Super Bowl. The Redskins, and then that horrible Seattle. Oh my God, man! I don't even.
That one hurts a lot more than the. Well, I was too young to remember. I was probably too young to remember even. And looking back at the history of that. Redskins game. Redskins probably wasn't. Was probably not. Was probably more of a shock.
Sure.
That it was, since the Broncos were favored in that game and whatnot. San Francisco, it's just that team was a machine. That was bound to.
Look, what you just alluded to there was more of a. When you have Peyton Manning and we had
No, that's why I lead. Yeah, that's what I lead into the Seahawks one because I expected the game to be at least close, but
we all did. We thought not even close. We thought we were gonna whoop them.
We thought we were gonna win. Well, I thought it was gonna be close, but I did.
Well, I don't know if we were gonna beat them though. At least I was
I did not think 43-8. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey man,
so we had a lot of heartbreak, and I think that's leading to what Tyler was saying. That's what makes the winning so much sweeter at the end of the day.
And I do share that, you know, a little bit with you guys. The Chiefs did get embarrassed too. You know, we got beat up by Tampa Bay, right? Like we lost, you know, and obviously we still had Patrick Mahomes. We had just won the Super Bowl, and so we were going into that.
It wasn't
fine.
Yeah. You guys played valid though. Like I mean, it wasn't no 43-8.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, I mean it was 30 to like 6.
31-9.
Yeah, now
like that.
like it wasn't. I mean, we got
I
beat.
guess it's not horrible, but
Like Mahomes caught him. The thing about that game is obviously the Chiefs, just their O-line was decimated, and Mahomes was running for his life the whole game. But like, well, again, I that's what made this one so much sweeter, is that they actually had an O-line that did their jobs and was able to, you know, stop the Eagles. That was one of my biggest things. Is like, man, like if we have to go up against another defense that just kills quarterbacks, like that's tough, you know, and it should be. I mean, it's the Super Bowl, right? You got to go against the best, and the Eagles were obviously the best in the NFC, you know, this year for sure. I mean, they did play a lot of cupcake games for sure, but they dominated. They did what they were supposed to do, right? And so that's why this game was so like, man, who knows what's gonna happen. So, but yeah, man, it's crazy when you win games. I don't know, when you lose them too. It just makes the Super Bowl win that much sweeter, right?
definitely.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. It's good to hear that perspective, you know, like, you know, sharing the time with your family and watching the games, because when the Chiefs, I'll never forget this, as a hater, right? Like when you guys played the Packers, right, in the Super Bowl, my dad comes home, he tosses me a Favre jersey.
No, that's fun.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. You know why I felt so confident in that game, that Packers Super Bowl? Because I felt like we beat the best team in the NFL in the playoffs that year, which was the Chiefs, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And I thought getting through the Chiefs, especially in Arrowhead, I thought, man, that's as tough as it gets. I mean, everything else from there is just, because that was the game I was worried about. Just remember.
and that was a good game. That was a good game.
That was a good game. Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I won't forget that game either, obviously. I mean, it sucks losing to your rival in the playoffs, you know. But yeah, man, like I mean, I didn't want you guys to win, but obviously, like, respect, right? Like, you guys beat us, and so it was, you know, obviously
Well, that was going on quite a bit back then, which is something I miss. You know, I miss that a lot. I miss those times. It was a good time.
You know, like being competitive, right? Like being competitive as a Bronco Chief rivalry, like that. Those, you know, growing up, right? Like they were tough games, man. They were awesome games. Like, you know, Derek Thomas Sackett and Elway. Like
that's why I'm like, I don't get the whole. I get when Bronco fans were cheering for the Chiefs. I'm like, are you serious? Like I despise them as much as the Raiders, specifically because of those times in the 90s. Going to Arrowhead was always, man, it was always just something. And it would just never turn out great. So especially doing that, so winning in the playoffs in there was such a relief.
What you just said is completely illegal as a Broncos fan. You can.
I agree.
The Chiefs ever, bro. Like it is written. It's unwritten. It's written, unwritten. I don't care. It's like carved into Broncos fans, like, you know, heads. Basically, you can't root for the Chiefs ever at any point, unless it's something that they're doing that allows you to get into the playoffs. You know what I mean, or something like.
Even that, you have to pause and really think about it.
You better to like kind of throw up a little bit in your mouth, but you have to do it because it's helping your team get
right. No, that's like I don't.
Whoever did that needs to turn in their Broncos fan card immediately.
They're not true, bro.
Well, so you need names.
You need names.
I'm not gonna put them on blast, but
well, here's the thing though. Like see, our generation, right? Like we grew up in, you know, the golden age, right? Like we grew up with You had Elway, you had Derek Thomas, we had, there Joe Montana, right? And you guys obviously had back-to-back Super Bowl champions and all that. And so there's a lot of history there. And, younger generations don't have that. So they don't know how to,
That's fair.
they don't know how to look at it from that perspective.
That's true.
Right. And so it's a little different. So now,
That's true. Yeah, and we grew up in the era where the AFC West for a lot of the 90s was probably one of the more competitive, if not the best divisions in all of football.
Exactly. And since they predicted it to be closer.
Right, but then it didn't. Yeah.
But it used to be the most competitive.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that had a lot. I mean, growing up with that, I mean, yeah, I think that probably has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like, I laugh. I'm sorry. How competitive it was supposed to be, and then like we just swept the division. We just swept them. And
yeah, Bob, I just said that. All right.
You don't have to repeat it.
But I mean, like I didn't expect that. Like I did not, like, as a Chiefs fan, like I thought because of the history and because of the franchise you guys have and getting Russell Wilson and all that, I thought that it was definitely going to be a step forward. And fuck, man, it wasn't. Like I mean, we talked about the hype, right? Like I was like, this hype's too much. Like the Broncos, they have to play a game first. Let them play a game first. But I still thought that they were going to be better, and they still can. It's just getting rid of Hackett was the big deal there,
That's the thing, man. It was definitely, you got to put predominantly a lot of blame on Hackett, but Russ definitely did not look good at all. So I'm not gonna let him get away, you know what I mean, without any blame, because the dude. And secondly, along with that, like, bro, you're not gonna have your own office anymore. You're not gonna have a freaking your masseuse. You're not gonna have your own quarterbacks coach. You ain't gonna have anything unless it's you bringing your hot ass wife Sarah in to like serenade us before the games or practices or something like that. That's the only cool thing you could do, other than sticking with what we do, what the rest of the team does. Not we, like I'm up in there doing anything, but then they have, you know what I mean? Like that's ridiculous. So Russ, he's going to come in, I think, this next year, though. I will say this because I'm still a Russ fan and I believe in him. He's going to come in, different mindset under Peyton. He's going to probably lose a couple LBs, I think. And I think he's going to come in and rip it up, put a new mindset. He knows he has to. This city, Denver, will turn on their quarterbacks like so quick. The only two they never did that to was Peyton and Elway. That's because they couldn't. You know what I mean? But
they kind of love Plummer a little bit too, right?
I like Plummer a lot.
Yeah, me too. That guy looks poorly. All growing shrooms up in
I like Plummer a lot.
Snake, man.
Jake the Snake.
I tell you, those years when he was the quarterback, I mean, those years looked pretty good, to be quite honest. So
yeah, Plummer was the man. Are you kidding me?
I really like Plummer.
We, as much as, I'm giving him props right now, we were definitely hating on him back then when he was fucking up everything. But no, like when he had mess ups, that's Brock.
Okay, when he had mess ups, that's with any quarterback. Yeah,
exactly. But us, we're like, screw that, bring in this next person. That's Broncos fans notoriously. I'm not really like that because I'm usually like, even with Locke, I was like, no, you got to give this dude a little bit more time.
No, Locke was trash.
I think.
Oh, he was. I agree. Look, he needed to go. Like, he needed to go. Then I always try to say that you got to give the QB a little bit more time rather than getting on him after the first season, or the first half of the season. But
I think Plummer, the Plummer equivalent for the Chiefs is like Alex Smith, right? Like he was
that's fair.
More than solid. Solid.
That's a fair comparison.
But he wasn't like the GOAT or anything. Like, but he was good. Like he was
Alex Smith after the broken leg.
I mean, before
he lost with that.
Hey man, he won some games.
His defense. His defense. Yeah.
Let's not go ahead. Let's see. No, back up. I got there after the broken leg and doing what he did because that's amazing. First of all, but he definitely did not.
That's like so. My thing is like I can't hate on Jake Plummer, right? Like you can,
no, how could you?
Like, and same thing with Alex Smith. Like, how you get hit on Alex Smith?
I agree. I don't think. Yeah,
Oh, I hated on him back in the day. Oh man, I hated on him when we played him. I was all over that clown, man. Oh, are you kidding me? But then afterwards, you have to give him props. I mean, numbers don't lie. The dude was a good competitor and he was a good player.
Yeah,
No,
I agree.
and a good guy, good all around guy. So how could you really hate on him? You know, like Jake, he's up there taking shrooms, smoking weed up in Colorado right now, still there. Comes in, gives his 2 cents every now and then, his hippie haircut on the Broncos, things like that. And then goes right back and goes to tripping shrooms again, dude. Who wouldn't like that guy? You know, he's a good guy. I wish he was my neighbor.
Right on, man. So this is good. So just a couple more topics, and then we'll get out of here. I think we've exhausted the football stuff for a while, and you know,
Oh, thank goodness. Now go ahead and change your background and take your hat off.
listen. When you're the champs, you know, like you got to represent. You know, is that not right? Oh, like when you were the champs, did you not represent?
Well, man.
Oh, of course I did. Of course.
I said that all the way up until the next year when somebody actually won the Super Bowl. Like even when we weren't even, you know what I mean, doing crap anymore. After I was like, we're still the Super Bowl champs. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to exhaust it at the last possible minute.
Ever.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's why I buy all.
I'm not telling you to do that. I'm saying Broncos fan.